Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that are being done right and are done wrong. This is an older video, comes from 2020. I cannot recall if I've seen this before. I don't think I have. When I had skipped through to look at some visuals of it to see if it would jar my memory, I didn't see anything that indicated it, and then I watched a little bit longer, and what I saw, I thought, well, I'm pretty confident I have not seen this before. So this video has a pretty good incident in it, I guess you could say, or at least a pretty good learning opportunity out of this incident to have some good talking points. So here we go.
Community briefing about an officer-involved shooting that occurred June 29, 2020 on Monte Vista Avenue south of the 10 freeway in the city of Montclair. This critical incident community briefing will utilize information obtained as part of an ongoing investigation that includes, but is not limited to, surveillance video, dispatch audio, dash camera, and body-worn camera footage. Body-worn cameras are worn at chest level and capture a perspective of what is in camera view. Footage may or may not reflect what an officer actually sees.
What a crappy freaking camera. Like, that setup, that style, it's fucking pathetic. That's horrible. Any agency I know of that has gone to this style of camera has quickly abandoned it because it is just complete crap. I don't even know if this particular style is still offered anymore. I wouldn't be surprised if it is. If it is, don't ever invest money in this crap. It is just, it's not user friendly at all. It doesn't last very long. It's just complete crap. There's other better products out there than this junk.
Pomona police officers responded to a request from the Foothill Air Support Team helicopter for assistance with the arrest of a suspect wanted for murder by the Fresno Police Department. The shooting occurred when the suspect stepped out of his vehicle and pointed a gun at officers. The shooting is the subject of 3 separate and independent investigations by 3 entities. The Montclair Police Department will conduct the criminal investigation into the actions of the suspect and the officers, and the San Bernardino County District Attorney's Office will ultimately determine if it was justified. The Pomona Police Department will also conduct an administrative review to determine if the shooting adhered to its policies and procedures. No conclusions will be made until the investigations are completed. A word of caution. The images and language you are about to see and hear may be disturbing, especially to young viewers. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. The Pomona Police Department received a request at 3:37 p.m. on June 29, 2020, from a Foothill Air Support Team helicopter to assist with a car stop of a Fresno murder suspect. Here is the request for assistance received by the Pomona Police Department.
Hey, sir, we're working a DOJ stop. It's a 187 suspect out of Fresno. He's on the 10 eastbound, and he's just east of town. Do you have any available units? There's no cars behind it yet.
10-4, start someone. They're still heading eastbound, though, because they're almost at our city limits.
Yeah, they're stopped for traffic, heavy traffic.
Very quickly want to throw out, oh, city limits, well, it's not our problem anymore. I hate that shit.
They're just east of the on-ramp from town in the number 2 lane.
Reference displays miscellaneous information, armed with a handgun, suspect a Nick Costales.
Pomona police vehicles responded, located the vehicle, and followed as the suspect drove eastbound on the San Bernardino freeway into the city of Montclair.
Edward 34, we're going to be behind the vehicle. It's going to be tan colored Kia Optima, license 6 William, Mary Henry 157, and we're approaching Indian Hill.
Okay, approaching Indian Hill, now that is the correct vehicle.
Keep up with them.
What lane is John?
We're on the number 3 lane. Looks like it's going to be a solo occupant, and we're going 43 miles an hour. Still approaching Indian Hill.
As the suspect began to accelerate, officers kept him in their view while maintaining a safe distance until the suspect exited the freeway at Monte Vista Avenue.
Go ahead, grab it. Light it up. He's taking off. Light it up. stay out there. I'll call. We're exiting Monta Vista, Pomona. Yeah, we're leaving there. Okay, we're coming up to Monta Vista on the 10. We have a CHP unit with us, myself and Adam 33.
The suspect pulled the car over along the curb, followed by 2 Pomona units who positioned themselves behind the suspect's vehicle. The suspect then exited his vehicle, pointed a gun at officers, and that's when the officer-involved shooting occurred. The officers involved in the shooting are Sean Gonzalez, Cynthia Burciaga, Vanerick Mendoza, and Sergeant William Knight. Here is the camera footage from Officer Burciaga's dash cam.
From the 10. And he's pulling curb. Shots fired, shots fired. Suspect shooting at officers are facing southbound, he's northbound, armed with a firearm. Nothing. Alright, suspect is down. Go ahead and start RA. How's the suspect? And have the responding agency here at Monta Vista block northbound traffic.
Here's the camera footage from Officer Gonzalez's.
All right, let's back that up. So, like, this is the cliche, like quintessential traffic stop, police traffic stop training scenario. Like, you conduct the traffic stop, and then boom, motherfucker gets out and starts shooting. Like, if you go through the FAT simulator or the other thing, I forgot what it's called. It's like the big projector screen where there's like scenarios that play out, and you got a little air gun that shoots a little laser out, and it registers, you know, where you hit at or whatever. Like, this is like, no shit, like almost a carbon copy of one of those scenarios. You know, you pull them over and then boom, they jump out and start shooting at you. So immediately upon exiting this vehicle, he starts the fight. We can see a incoming round hit the top of the car right here, and I'll back it up just a little bit so you can see that. Also, his back windshield gets hit, so I'll back that up again. And, you know, now I think about it, that could have just been the windshield being hit and it looking like the top of the car got hit. So, back of the windshield getting hit for sure. As this, and you see this dust plume right over here, so that's a wide hit right there. Back it up again. Pay attention to the trees back here.
Shots fired, shots fired. Suspect shooting at officers are facing southbound, he's north.
Fucking shooting the goddamn branches down. I mean, it's not that, I mean, it's not funny, I mean, but like, holy shit, like, this is a good illustration of what I talk about when there are missed rounds in gunfights, and why pistols should not be the go-to thing when you're going to be going to high-risk events. Now, this one's slightly different because this is starting out as a traffic stop, or a high-risk traffic stop, because he is a murder suspect. But the people who are going en route to this call, they know that this is going to end up being a felony traffic stop, a high-risk traffic stop. So, what do I think they should have done? Number one, it depends on where the rifle is kept at. But number one, they should have got the rifle out. If it's up there in the cab of the vehicle, great. That's easy enough to grab. It sounds like this is a two-man car, and it looked like it showed some footage from the passenger side, so I think it is a two-man car. So if it's a two-man car and there's a rifle up in the cab, the passenger can very easily get that rifle out, sling it, danger it up, and then when they come to a stop, be able to dismount and put that rifle into play. Now, of course, the driver is going to be stuck with a pistol, unless there's two rifles in that vehicle, so that they can each have a rifle. If it is a one-man car, then it's going to depend on where the rifle's kept at. I'm sorry, let me back up. So if it's a two-man car, even if it's a one-man car too, if the rifle is in the cargo hold of the vehicle or it's in the trunk, you should stop, get out, get that rifle, sling it, charge it up, and then proceed to call. Because you know that when you get there, it is going to be a high-risk stop. And there is a good possibility that there could be a gunfight. If you know you're going to a gunfight, bring a rifle. But if it's a one-man car, like I said, if it's in the cargo hold, you're going to have to stop, pull over, get it, sling it, danger it up, and proceed. If it's up in the cab, if you're able to, maneuver it while you're still driving, get the rifle out, sling it, danger it up, cool, do that. Some people are, multitaskable like that. The safest thing, and I would recommend it, is just pull over slightly, get it out, get it ready, and then pull back in traffic and continue on. Rifles are far more superior than pistols. Pistols are not very accurate, and the terminal ballistics suck. A pistol has a very short barrel, and a rifle has a very long barrel on it, and you have multiple points of contact. Whereas the pistol, it only has 2 points of contact. Your two hands. That's it. That's all you're getting. With the rifle, you get your two hands, plus your shoulder, plus your cheek weld, plus your ability to, if you go into a prone position, bracing your arms down into the ground, onto the earth, or some other object or barricade, you use that shoulder, your elbow with the sling and be able to tension that rifle, ratchet it in closer to you, further stabilizing it. So you got better opportunities to have more accurate rounds on target with a rifle than you do a pistol. And those rifle rounds, the kinetic energy that they're going to dump into that target, it's going to be devastating. It can take fewer rounds from rifle to rapidly incapacitate a threat than it can pistol. It may take 1 to 5 rounds of rifle center mass to drop a target, to stop that threat rapidly. It may take multiple rounds of pistol to achieve that effect. Now, I don't know who's got rifles, who got pistols, but history has shown, I guess you could say, from reviewing these videos, that too many officers jump out with pistols only.
Alright, suspect is down. Go ahead and start RA.
Now just imagine what all these people right here are thinking. Like, they are sitting here watching this gunfight play out. Like, some of these people have to be scared shitless at this point. What can you do if you find yourself in traffic like this? If you can drive out of there, drive out of there. Now, I don't know how many police cars are off to the left here. It could be that there's so many police cars to the left here, and you can just see, like, from here to there, right? Like, they could be parked within this area, and these cars are unable to go forward and escape out of there. it would not be a good idea to try to execute a U-turn, because you would be getting way too close to the suspect vehicle and run the risk of being getting rounds put into you. If you're right in here, I think that the safest thing to do is throw that car in park and crawl out the passenger side of that door and get away from there. We see that there's a building over here. Who knows if there's a fence? It looks like there's a fence right there, but I don't know if that fence extends all the way down here or not. But if you can crawl out that passenger side door and beat feet to over here in this area, put as much distance and material in between you as possible, do that. Because as you could see, little dust plume came up over here when dude was standing right here, and when he's standing right here, fucking tree limbs are being shot out the damn tree. There are going to be rounds being missed in this gunfight. You don't want to take that risk of catching a stray round. So if you can't drive off the X and get the hell out of there, dismount from the side of the vehicle that is away from everyone and just beat feet. Like, leave your car. I guarantee you this whole road is going to be shut down for evidence collection, crime scene processing purposes. Who cares if your car is stuck in that road now? Because ain't nobody going to be using this road anytime soon once they start blocking the intersections and putting up the tape. So fuck it, right? And if your car gets damaged, guess what? That's what you got insurance for. I do not recommend hiding in your car because cars suck as cover. Bullets can very easily go through car doors and other parts of the car with little ease. A 22 long rifle will go straight through a car door and even go out the other side of the door as well, depending on where you hit on the door and if you hit any support structural beams or on the door panel, any thick parts. If you hit a area just right where you don't hit a beam or hit any thick parts of the inside panel, you can fire from driver's side all the way out the passenger side, even with a little 22 long rifle. But 22 will mostly catch in some of those thicker things and terminate into the passenger side door. 9mm has a little bit more punch to it. It'll punch all the way through, no problem whatsoever. Even at this angle of a round came in and you thought you were going to crawl out the car and then go hide on the passenger side, around the trunk area. So from this angle right here, a round could go through this driver's side door, go through the seat, go through the back seat, and come out the side of the trunk area and hit you. Cars suck for cover. The best place is to be around the engine block, because once the round penetrates the skin of the body, it will terminate into the engine block. The engine block will stop rounds. But the best case scenario is to get away from that vehicle, put as much distance between you as possible, put big trees in between you, big things of concrete in between you. If there's a ditch, get in the ditch. All right, moving on.
The responding agency here wanted this block northbound traffic.
Here's the camera footage from Officer Gonzalez's body-worn camera.
Let me see your hands!
Here you can see where the suspect's gunfire damaged police vehicle windows, including the front driver's side windshield. Here is a photo of the suspect's gun that was recovered at the scene.
All right, let's back this part up. All right, so as they were rolling up, he was kicking his door open, propping it open with his foot. Come to a stop, boom, he is dismounted and he is already out, got lethal cover on this vehicle. We see that he does not have a very great two-handed grip on this gun the way he should be having a two-handed thumbs forward grip on this gun.
See your hands!
Well, This is a poor grip. He might as well just be shooting one-handed at this point because his non-dominant hand is not doing anything that it needs to be doing to further stabilize that pistol. Where his thumb is at, how it is on the back.
Let me see your hands!
There. That is running the risk of the slide hitting the thumb. And at best case scenario, all you're going to get is some slide bite, might have a little skin knocked loose. Worst case scenario is it impedes the ability of the slide to go all the way back, eject that empty casing, and strip a new round out of the magazine. So that could induce a malfunction of the gun. Being in the middle of a gunfight and having a malfunction and having to clear that when you're at the front of the stack sucks. So this right here to me is a big issue. I mean, you try to back up under stress, yeah, you're going to run the potential of tripping and falling. And it looks like he's pretty damn close to the curb anyway, so I'd say he probably lost his footing right there on the curb and went down that way. Trigger finger. That is poor finger placement for the trigger. He is not on target. He's not pointing his gun at the threat. He should not be making the conscious decision to be shooting right now, so his finger does not need to be on the trigger. It needs to be indexed high up along the slide. Preferably, you know, if your hands are big enough, you can do it. Put the tip of your finger into that ejection port of that gun for indexing. He could have potentially got a round off, and you know, during that positioning of her coming up and helping him, he could have popped around into her, or from here pop around, it hit the ground, ricochet, and go hit someone else, or it hit this ground right here, fragments splinter up, hit him in the face, and blind him and injure him. So that's another glaring issue that I see.
Here you can see where the suspect's gunfire damaged police vehicle windows, including the front driver's side windshield. Here is a photo of the suspect's gun that was recovered at the scene. After the shooting, officer photo of the suspect's gun.
So you had a Beretta 92 FS, an M9.
That was recovered at the scene. After the shooting, officers rendered medical aid. The suspect was taken to a local hospital where he succumbed to his injuries.
Oh, good.
One officer suffered minor injuries not as a result of gunfire and was treated at the scene. The suspect was identified with injuries in the hospital where he succumbed to his injuries.
So they appear to have a bag here that it looks like they have some medical gear in, and this stuff right here looks to be in a Ziploc bag potentially. This appears to be a very large dressing, I think.
Suffered minor injuries not as a result.
This one appears to be a very large dressing, probably an abdominal type of dressing.
At the scene.
Med kits come in many different sizes and flavors. Some have a little bit less, some have a little bit more. When it comes to medical gear, I am a firm believer that you should be carrying some form of medical gear on you, and that's what I call first line gear. And then you should have supplemental medical gear in the vehicle, which is what I call your second line gear. This bag is going to be big enough to be a supplemental medical bag. Now, that supplemental medical bag, it needs to be fully devoted to just medical only. You don't need to be having a patrol bag that you keep all kinds of extra stuff in and then your med kit be inside of it somewhere, and it end up being at the bottom of all this stuff. Med kits need to be at the very top, wherever you keep it at. So a lot of places will keep stuff in the trunk of the vehicle or the cargo hold of the vehicle. That could be a decent place to keep it, but the problem with trunks is some stuff ends up being at the bottom of a big old pile of stuff. So on the trunk lid itself, on the interior side, there are options or abilities to be able to put a trauma kit on there and have it as a tearaway trauma kit. So you put the base of that trauma kit on the trunk lid itself, secure it to it with zip ties or something like that, and then you attach the med kit itself to it, and it kind of velcros to it or has a little strap go over top of it to keep it in place. And when you open your trunk, voila, it's always going to be there on the trunk lid. There's no way for you to be able to pile a bunch of shit up on the lid of your trunk and it end up being covered up, right? Unless your car becomes upside down, then you got some other problems going on. But, you know, all things being normal, when you go to the trunk of your car and you open it, boom, it's right there on the lid. If not, then there should be a standard operating procedure or a TTP in place that everyone knows to keep their extra large trauma bag on the left side of the trunk or the left side of the cargo hold. That way, it doesn't matter whose car you go to, you know it's going to be on the left side, right? Or if you have a smaller IFAC kind of size trauma kit, you know, you can keep that up in the cab of the vehicle with you in between the seats. I keep an IFAC kit up in the vehicle with me in between the front seats, and I also have a very large trauma bag in the trunk itself. And I keep it to always to one side of the trunk, and I am very conscious to never lay stuff on top of it. If I got to put extra stuff in the trunk, that trauma bag comes out. I put whatever junk I need to in the trunk, and then the trauma bag goes back inside, and it is on top and always visible and always easily retrievable. When you have a dedicated trauma bag like that, you can have all your essential things in there, and you're not having to, you know, go through what looks to be freaking file folders here or something like that. Like, I don't know what the hell this is. You're not having to, like, go through different stuff just to find what you need. I also highly recommend that you keep a headlamp in your trauma kit with lithium batteries. And the reason why I say lithium batteries is because if you're going to be leaving your trauma kit out in the car, then you want lithium batteries so that they don't leak acid out and then ruin the headlamp and it doesn't work when you need it to work. So if you use regular alkaline batteries, they do have the higher probability of leaking, and once they leak, you just can't get the electronics to turn on. So if you're going to be storing electronics outside in your vehicle, you need to be using lithium batteries. So go to Walmart, get your headlamp, buy some lithium batteries, and put that headlamp in your trauma kit. If you can, have it on maybe the outside of the handle, girth hitch it in place or something like that. If it's on the inside, have it sitting on top. That way at night, if you have to use that thing, you open it up, you got the headlamp, you put it on. Now you got both hands to be able to use, and you're not having to hold a flashlight with one hand and try to rummage around and find shit with the other hand, and then try to treat the person with one hand, or trying to put the flashlight in the crook of your neck and like hold it like a old landline receiver, or trying to tuck it under your armpit and you're not having a good optimal lighting source there, or you know, if it's a small light, trying to hold it in your mouth, which I do not recommend at all. It just makes it a whole lot easier if you have a headlamp. So having the medical gear is one part of the solution. You got to have that knowledge to go with it. And you got to have the knowledge that is beyond what most agencies and or companies provide. Most security companies, most law enforcement agencies will only provide CPR, AED, first aid type of classes. Those are good for knowing how to give someone CPR, and the first aid stuff that comes with it is decent knowledge to know for basic boo-boo things. The first aid curriculum in those courses is so watered down and not in depth that it does not do you any justice when providing pre-hospital trauma care to a person who has battlefield type injuries. If you are wanting to be able to treat battlefield type injuries, you need to take medical classes that follow along the lines of what's known as TCCC, Tactical Combat Casualty Care. This is a course of instruction or curriculum and standards in place that have been put to the test many times for several years since 2003 during Afghanistan and Iraq wars and other theaters of war and engagements across the globe. It is battle proven and is an effective method for providing pre-hospital trauma care to people who have received battlefield type injuries, gunshot wounds, stab wounds, etc. But most places will not provide that level of training, so you've got to seek that stuff out on your own. If you have someone on your agency or someone on your company that was, combat lifesaver in the Army or something like that, or they've got their EMT certification, they do that on the side, or they did that before, those would be good people to go to get some better advice and maybe some training from on how to apply things like tourniquets and chest seals and things like that, because you don't learn how to apply tourniquets and chest seals and nasopharyngeal airways in a American Red Cross CPR 80 first aid class. You don't go over that stuff. In a good TCCC class, you will go over that stuff. And in fact, a good medical class will have you go through an actual trauma kit. You will burn through an actual trauma kit during training. You will open it up. You'll get the chest seal package. You'll rip that chest seal package open. You'll take that protective film off, and then you will put that chest seal on another student. You will take a tourniquet, you can use a live tourniquet, but if you do use that live tourniquet for training purposes, then you need to retire that tourniquet to training purposes only. But when it comes to tourniquets, you can buy training only tourniquets that are blue colored, and that's what I recommend you use. But you will take tourniquets and actually put them on people, tighten them down, tighten that windlass as tight as you can, put it on, and then go from there. In a good medical class, you will practice inserting a nasopharyngeal airway into another student, and you likewise will be on the receiving end for your partner that you're training with. So there are courses out there that are like that, and I highly suggest you go out there and seek those out and take it, because if something critical happens, it is a matter of seconds, minutes, in determining whether or not a person survives. When we talk about pre-hospital care, with standard EMS, there is a response time involved there. I think overall general response times are over 5 minutes. It's somewhere around the 7 or 8 minute mark last time I heard about any kind of statistics. That could be different now, but it's going to be several minutes before an ambulance can ever get there. And when it is involving the scene of violence, gunplay, knife play, whatever, the fire truck and the ambulance is not going to come directly to the scene. They are going to wait until they are told that the scene is clear and safe to approach. And that could take extra time for them to receive that message and then to cover that distance to get there. And then when they do get there, there's probably going to be like 10 to 20 fucking cop cars everywhere, and you know someone's going to park their car right in the middle of the road and get out with the keys and the vehicle turned off, and no one's going to be able to move that fucking car. So the ambulance is probably not going to be able to pull up right next to where you're at. They're going to have to stage a little bit further away, and then they're going to get out, and there's going to be like a sea of cops out there. You know, there's going to be all kinds of people standing around. They don't know exactly 100% sure where to go to right in that moment. There might be some people waving them down to come over or whatever, but they still got to grab their go bags, stretcher, and then make their way over there and then start doing the assessment. All that takes time. Time is critical in pre-hospital care. There's a couple terminology that is used. Platinum 10 refers to the first 10 minutes of pre-hospital care being given to a person, and then you have the golden hour, and that is, you know, within the first hour, someone getting pre-hospital care treatment after they've received their injury. Within the first 10 minutes of a person receiving an injury and you providing pre-hospital care to them within that 10 minutes, that increases their chances of survival by X amount of percent. Same with the golden hour. The golden hour is just you treating them and then getting them into an emergency room within the first hour of them getting their injury. And that increases their chances of survival by X amount of percent. You start going outside that platinum 10 window, those survival rates start decreasing. You go outside that 1 hour window, survival rates start decreasing. So seconds matter. A femoral artery hit, you can bleed out in 90 seconds. 90 seconds you can bleed out, and there's not a damn thing anybody can do with it. Even if you were right next door or even in the middle of the hospital, the best trauma center in the world, if you bleed out, you bleed out. There's just not much anyone can do at that point. So the medical part is not just the equipment, but the knowledge is paramount. Now, what if you don't know anything about medical stuff? Can you still go get the medical equipment? Absolutely. Hell yeah. And I would suggest that you do that, even if you don't know anything about how to use a tourniquet. If you don't know what a tourniquet is, you can still research it, find out what it is, find one, order it, and have it come to you and carry it around. Even if you don't know how to use it, that doesn't mean that someone else might not know how to use it. Same with other things, or an IFAC. Let's say you order an IFAC from a good company, comes to you, you have no idea how to use any of the stuff in it. That's fine. That's okay. Someone else may know how to use that stuff, and it may be useful to them. So even if you don't have any good medical training, I still think that you should buy some medical stuff. Treat it like a regular first aid kit, right? Have your trauma kit, have it in the vehicle just in case. All right, let's move on from the medical talk and see what the rest of this video has.
Officer suffered minor injuries not as a result of gunfire and was treated at the scene. The suspect was identified as 34-year-old Nick Torrecias Costales. Costales was the primary suspect in the killing of his mother, who was found deceased with significant trauma to her upper body on Sunday, June 28, 2020. The information in this briefing is based on a preliminary and ongoing investigation. Our understanding of the facts and circumstances may change as additional evidence is collected and analyzed. The job of a police officer is difficult and dangerous. As this case demonstrates, officers often must react to unpredictable circumstances, sometimes in a fraction of a second.
Fucking shield.
It is a tragic, unpredictable circumstance.
So, I think shields are just, for the most part, the majority of the time, I think they're just fucking useless. Because think about this right here. Who is the only person benefiting from this shield? This guy. This dude, or woman, I don't know which, is all the way out to the side here. Not even behind the shield at all. Furthermore, to hold the shield, you have to use one of your hands. So he's utilizing a pistol. What have I said before about pistols? You only get 2 points of contact on that gun to make it as accurate, to help make it as accurate as it can be. You take one hand off the gun and you start shooting one-handed, you're almost essentially slashing your accuracy in half. So now he is going to be less accurate with the fighting gun that he has, and he is the only person behind the shield. And judging from this angle, it looks like his head is poking up over top of the shield. So it's not even his head is being covered. So some applications, I think shields can be useful, but I think for the most part, they're just mostly useless, especially like when you see stuff like this.
Sometimes in a fraction of a second. It is a tragedy whenever there's an officer-involved shooting. For the families of those involved, for the officers, and for the police department. Thank you for watching this critical for the unpredictable service. As this case demonstrates, officers often must react to unpredictable circumstances, sometimes in a fraction of a second. It is a
all right, so rounds right there. Looks like he hit the guy's door, or that could have been the officer shooting and putting a round through the door when he went out this way. I can't see if there's any. Well, we did see something on the side window of a vehicle, but it doesn't look like there's any other holes in this car from the bad guy.
Tragedy whenever there's an officer-involved shooting.
Oops, that was very quick slide.
Where there's an officer-involved.
They did not leave that one up very
long. It is a tragedy whenever there's an officer.
All right. That's possibly an entry hole, maybe. I don't know for sure. If the bad guy did shoot, I would think that maybe an exit would be a little bit bigger, like a little bit more of a bigger chunk would be coming out, but that could be where the officer hit the car.
Involved shooting. For the families of those involved.
Not sure what all this stuff is. This looks like report stuff, maybe. Oh, it's a casing. So there's a casing there. It looks like maybe paperwork that fell out of one of the cruisers.
For the officers. And for the police department.
So a round struck here on the side of one of these SUVs. Not sure from who.
Department. Thank you for watching this critical incident community briefing. He succumbed to his injuries.
All right. So that's it. Not much else to say about this video. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.